Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this dress here. It has buttons in the front with these 3 buttons. It's got the flap here. Picots around the neck. Little, I think this looks like a little princess crown around the sleeves with the picots. Mesh kind of here, skirt, and the same little picot looking crowns at the bottom. So it's a really pretty easy dress. I'm going to set this out of the way, and I'm going to set my camera down and tell you about what I used. Now I made mine to fit a size 2T, and what I used was a size G 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. Now if you want this to fit a 3T, follow my same pattern. Make it a little bit longer, a few more inches longer, and use a size H 5 millimeter crochet hook. And if you want this to fit a 4T, follow my same pattern. Make it even a little longer than that, a little longer than that, the 3T, several more inches. If you have your child, it's a lot easier to adjust the length for that, because I don't really have any 3Ts walking around or anything, so I can't really tell you. But for the 4T, follow the same pattern and use a I, which is a 5.5 millimeter. So I don't know about a smaller hook. If you want to make it for like 12 months, I'm not sure. You can't quote me on it. You could try using a smaller hook for that, but that I'm not sure about. So that's something you can play around with, I guess. You're going to need some buttons. These are 1/2-inch buttons, and I have 3 of them. And I got these at Walmart in the button aisle. Of course, you can use smaller, or a little bit smaller and more buttons if you want. That's totally up to you. And I am using Caron Simply Soft, which is a 100% acrylic medium 4-ply yarn. The color I use is called Soft Pink, and there are 315 yards per skein, and this is what I have left of a second skein. So I'm going to say about just to be 500 yards, just so to do my size. Now you might need more if you're going to make it 3T or 4T. If you're going to make it longer, you might need more than this. I don't know if this will be enough to make it as long as you want it, but for my size I took about 500 yards. And then I used some white for the edging, same brand, just regular white, and it didn't take much of that at all, probably maybe 75 yards of that. So one skein will be enough, regardless of what size you do of the white. And I just want to make a quick comment on the name, that I didn't name my dress, just so you didn't think I was a weirdo why I named it that. My daughter, in case you didn't know, she is about a little over 18 months, and this is going to be for her. And her name is Evelyn Rose, but we all call her Ever Rose. So that's where the name came from. So you don't think you're probably read the name, you're like, what the heck does that mean? But this one will just tell you, so you know what that name means. So let's go ahead and get started on it. Okay, you want to start off with a chain of 66. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet in the 4th stitch from the hook. And remember, we never count the 1 until our hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 10 stitches. Okay, once you get the 10 stitches, now what you want to do is a chain of 2. 1, 2, and now we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 14 stitches, just starting with the next stitch. The next 14. Okay, once you get the 14 stitches done, what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that 2 more times. So we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 14 stitches again. Okay, that was 14, and now again we're going to chain 2 and 1 double crochet in the next 14 stitches again. Okay, I got my 14 stitches done again. Now one more time we're going to chain 2, and now we're going to put 1 double crochet in the last 10 stitches. You should have 10 stitches left, so you just go ahead and work 1 double crochet in each of those. Okay, I've made it to the end of row 1, and you should have a total of 64 stitches. We have 10 here on the end, 14, 14, 14, and then we have 12 on this end. This little chain here counts as a stitch. And the reason why we have 2 more stitches on this end than we do on this end is this is going to be our button flap row. So it's going to be a 2-stitch button flap. So it's going to be 2 stitches bigger on this end than it will be on this end. So 64 stitches at the end of row 1, and you'll have 4 of the chain 2 spaces. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to put 1 double crochet right back here in the very first stitch, right here. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 9 stitches. So counting that very first double crochet, you'll have 10 stitches before you get, when you get up here to your chain 2 space. Now when you get to the chain 2 space, what you want to do is in the chain space, and this is what we're going to work in every chain space, we're going to work 2 double crochets right through the space, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets all through that same chain space. So 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next 14 stitches until we get to our next chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles, all into that chain space. And now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 14 stitches until I get to my next chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it to my next chain 2 space. So again, in the chain 2, I'm going to put 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. And now one more time here, 1 double crochet in the next 14 stitches till you get to your next chain 2 space. Okay, I'm at my last chain 2 space, so I'm going to work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets. And now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in these last 12 stitches. Okay, and remember this chain here on the end counts as our last stitch, so that'll be our 12th stitch. Just go right into the top of it. Just like that, and that'll end row 2, and you should have a total of 80 stitches now at the end of row 2, and you'll still have your 4 chain spaces. And you can see it's kind of, when you lay it out, looking like a square with a little bit of an overlap for some buttons. But we're going to keep making it bigger. So for row 3, what we're going to do is chain 1, turn our work, 1 double crochet in the very first stitch here, and then 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to your first chain 2 space. So counting this first double crochet, we should have 14 stitches here. Okay, I've made it to my first chain 2 space, so I'm going to put my 2 double crochets, chain of 2, and 2 more double crochets. And now I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each of these stitches until I get to my next chain 2 space, and there should be 18 stitches across until you get to your next chain 2. So 1 double crochet into the next 18 stitches, okay, I'm at my chain 2 space, so 2 double crochet, chain 2, and 2 doubles. Okay, and again it's 1 double crochet, and this is what we're going to do, 1 double crochet in these 18 stitches, and then we're going to do 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the chain space, and then it'll be 1 double crochet in these 18 stitches, and then it'll be 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So I'm going to meet you right over here at this last chain 2 space. Okay, I've made it over here, and I just said my 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in my last chain space. Now we're just going to put 1 double crochet in our last 12 stitches. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 3, you should have a total of 96 stitches and 4 of the chain 2 spaces. Okay, now we're going to start row 4 by chaining 1 and turning our work. And we're going to put 1 double crochet in the same stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to our first chain 2 space. So 1 double crochet back in the same stitch, and 1 double crochet in every stitch until our first chain 2 space, and we should have 14 double crochets here, counting that very first one. Okay, I made it to my first chain 2 space, so I'm going to do my 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch across until I get to my first chain 2 space, and there should be 22 stitches. And then I'm going to do my 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then I'm going to do 1 double crochet again every stitch across, 22 stitches, and then I'll do my 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then I'll repeat that one more time. 1 double crochet in every stitch across, which would be 22 stitches, and then I'll do my 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and I'll meet you right back here at the last chain space. Remember, there's 22 stitches between each of the chain spaces. Okay, I've made it to my last chain 2 space, and I did my 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. Now I should have 16 stitches left, and I want to put 1 double crochet in each of those 16 stitches. Okay, I've made it to the end of row 4, and you should have a total of 112 stitches now and your 4 chain 2 spaces. So we're going to start row 5 by chaining 1 and turning our work, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in the same stitch and 1 double crochet in every stitch till we get to our first chain 2 space. So count the very first double that we do in the very first stitch, and the rest of them we should have a total of 18 stitches when we make it to our first chain 2 space. Okay, and I made it to my first chain 2 space, so I'm going to put my 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 more doubles. Now we're going to do what we did on the last row. We're going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch across until you get to your first chain 2 space, and there should be 26 stitches. And then you do your 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and then we repeat that again. 26 stitches, chain 2 space, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. One more time, 26 stitches, chain 2, 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles in the last space, and I'll meet you right back over here at the last space. So remember, you'll have 26 stitches now in between each of the chain 2 spaces. Okay, I've made it all the way around, and I just did my 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles, and I should have 16 stitches left. And I want to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in each of those 16 stitches. Okay, once you make it to the end of a round for row 5, you should have a total of 128 stitches now, and for the chain 2 spaces. Now we're going to start row 6, and row 6 is the armhole row. So what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in the very first stitch, and then every stitch until we get to our chain 2 space. So counting this very first one, we should have 18 stitches until when we reach our first chain 2 space. So 1 double crochet in each of those. Okay, when you make it to your first chain 2 space, what we're going to do is we're just going to put 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space. That's it, just 2 doubles. Like that. And now we're going to skip all these stitches here and go work in our next chain 2 space. So there's 30 stitches here, and we're going to skip all 30. And what we're going to do is put 2 double crochets into this next chain 2 space. So skip all them and just kind of just fold your piece over and work 2 double crochets in that chain 2 space, and that made our first armhole. right there. And now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch across until we get to our first chain 2 space. So there should be 30 stitches here. 1 double crochet in each of these 30 stitches. Okay, once you made it, you did your 30 stitches there across, and once you made it to your next chain 2 space, we're just going to put 2 double crochets in that space. That's it, just 2 doubles. And now we're going to skip these 30 stitches and put 2 double crochets in our next chain 2 space. So we just kind of fold it over again and put 2 double crochets into this next chain 2 space. And this is forming our next armhole. So we got 2 armholes now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put, you should have 20 stitches left, and we're just going to put 1 double crochet in each of the last 20 stitches. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 6, you should have your 2 armholes made, and you should have a total of 76 stitches. Now that's just counting here across the back and the other side. We're not counting these 30 stitches that we skipped for the armhole. We're not going to do anything with these stitches right now, so we're just counting. Let me lay my piece out here for you. This is the top of it, so it's upside down. We're just counting these stitches along the bottom here, you can see. So you should have 76, and we still have that 2 row that's going to flap over for the buttons. I'm going to do that later though. So now what we're going to do for round 7 is we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and now we're just going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch. So no more chain 2s or anything like that. It's just 1 double crochet in every stitch across until you get to the other side, until you get to the end of the row. When you make it up over here to where your armhole area is, remember we're still just doing 1 double crochet in every stitch. So we're not doing anything special here at the armholes. Just like that. We're just going to continue working the 1 double crochet until we get to the end of the row. Okay, when you make it to the end of row 7, you still should have 76 stitches. Now what we're going to do for row 8 and 9 is we're just going to repeat row 7. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're just going to do row 8, 1 double crochet in every stitch, and then turn our work, and row 9 is going to be 1 double crochet in every stitch. So row 8 and 9 is just a repeat of row 7. 1 double crochet in every stitch, and you should have 76 stitches at the end of the row. Okay, I went ahead and made it to the end of row 9. And I have 76 stitches now. But what I need to do is I'm going to slip stitch over here now. So what I'm going to do is count over 2 stitches, skip those 2 stitches, and I'm going to slip stitch into the 3rd one. Like that. And that is going to be my buttonhole overhang. And now what I'm going to do is clip that yarn and tie it off, and then the yoke is finished. So now what that brings you now down, since you took those 2 stitches off, you'll have, instead of 76, you're going to have 74 around, because we're not going to count these 2 stitches. We'll work them later. So you should have 74 now all the way around, not counting those 2. So that's what it looks like so far. And we'll sew buttons on later and get this all cleaned up. But for now, we're going to work the skirt of the dress. And it's actually really pretty easy. What I'm going to do is start in the back somewhere. That way the seam is along the back of the dress and not the front. So I'm going to flip it upside down, and I'm going to start just like this. And I'm going to start my yarn in any stitch kind of along the back here in the middle. Now what I'm going to be doing for the back is just kind of like a mesh stitch, so it's really actually pretty easy. Go ahead and start your yarn. Just pick out any stitch, you know, along the back seam here. Or along the back here, so the seam will be in the back. Doesn't have to be any particular stitch. And I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go right back into that same stitch, and I'm going to single crochet. That. Now I'm going to work a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to single crochet into the very next stitch like that, and then I'm going to work a chain of 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the very next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the very next stitch, and I'm going to repeat this all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. They don't have to be tight chains, just, you know, just normal to loose chains. Single crochet in the very next stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next stitch, and I'm going to continue this all the way around until I get to my starting point. And they're going to be all kind of bunched up like that, and that's fine. That's what you want. It's going to give it some ruffle, the dress a little bit of ruffle. Okay, once you made it all the way around, and I just single crocheted in my very last single crochet. Now what I want to do to end this is I want to do a chain of 2, and then I'm going to yarn over and half double crochet into the very first single crochet. This is how I'm going to end every row. Half double. Or you go through all of them like that. Now you should have 74 of these chain spaces. And now we're just going to start again, and now this is how we're going to start every row. We're going to chain 1, single crochet into the same chain space like that. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet into the next chain space. Chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space, and we're just going to repeat this all the way around. Just like that. And you want to repeat that until you get back to the beginning. Okay, I've made it all the way around again, and I just did single crochet in my last spot, because here is where I started in this loop here, you can see. So I need to end with, this is how we end every row, chain 2, and then half double crochet right here in the very first single crochet that we did. Half double, just like that, and you should have 74 chain spaces again. And now all it is a repeat of that last row that we just did, a repeat of that. So we just chain 1 and we go right back into this very first space and single crochet, chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 4, single crochet in the next chain space, chain 4, single crochet into the next chain space, chain 4, and I'm just going to repeat what I did in the last row, and I'm going to keep repeating that row until I get my dress the length that I want it to be before I put my row of edging on. And I know it looks a little crinkly, might go all kind of smushed up, but the more rows you do, the more it'll start to flare out and not look so smashed together. So just keep repeating that last row, end it like we did. Whenever you get back around, you just chain 2 and then half double crochet into that first single crochet and then start again. Okay, I went ahead and did 20 rounds of these chains. If you want to make it for a bigger child, like 3 to 4 year old, you're going to need to do it longer. I'm not sure how much longer, several rows, I'm sure. If you have your child there, that'll help out. But once you get to the end, and I just did my last single crochet here, instead of doing a chain 2 and a half double, I'm just going to do my chain 4, just a regular chain 4, and slip stitch into my first single crochet, and then I'm going to tie my yarn off like that. Now it looks kind of crunched up. What you got to do with this mesh stuff is you really got to kind of stretch it out, because the single crochets, they kind of, I don't know how to put it, they kind of wad up together a little bit, and you got to get them all stretched out, and that way they get in place. So give it a good stretch, and I hold it up here at the top of the yoke so the yoke don't stretch, and then I'll stretch this. But give it a good stretch, and I've already been stretching it a bit, but so, and then I'll bring some length onto it, as you can tell, and then if you think that you need more rows, you can always do more rows. Okay, what I'm going to do now is start my edging. So I'm going to just start where I left off, but I'm going to use my color white now. I'm going to do another row of chains for my first row of edging. So actually, you can just start anywhere in the back here on one of these chains. I guess, yeah, I'll just start where I left off. Just go into the chain, and we're going to chain 1 and go back into the same chain and single crochet. And I'm just going to do what I did with the pink. I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to jump to my next chain and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, jump to my next chain and single crochet. And I'm going to do this all the way around. So I'm just repeating what we were doing, only I'm doing it in the white. So when you get back around, you still should have 74 of these chains, but they're going to be white now. So I'll meet you back up here at the beginning. Okay, once you make it all the way around with your chains, white chains here, we're just going to go ahead and end it with a chain 4 and slip stitch into the first single crochet. We're not going to do the chain 2 half double. We're just going to end it like this. And now we're going to start doing these little shell things with picots that I already did some on the sleeve. But what I'm going to do is slip stitch over into the first stitch, and I'm going to chain 1. Now these are really easy to do. I'm going to work 5 single crochets but the third one is going to have a picot on it. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 single crochets in here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now on this one I'm going to put a picot, so I'm going to chain 3, and then some people, when they do a picot, I think traditionally you're supposed to slip stitch into the first chain space of your chain 3. I don't do that. I come and I grab these 2 side stitches. Now you can do it that other way if you want, but this is how I do it, and then I slip stitch. To me, I think that holds the point down better, but you could do it either way that you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more single crochets in the same chain space. So what I've done, and pull up a little bit on your point, and there it is. I've done 3 single crochets, a picot, and 2 more single crochets. So 5 singles with the picot in the middle one. Now I'm just going to do that in every single chain space. So I'm just going to skip this single crochet right here, and I'm just going to jump into the next chain space and work 3 single crochets. And then I'm going to do my picot. I'm going to chain 3 and come back down. Grab these 2 side pieces of my stitch, slip stitch, and that makes the point or the picot. And now I'm going to put 2 more single crochets in the same spot. Pull up a bit on your picot, and that's it. So it's really easy. Jump to the next chain space, 3 single crochets, chain 3, go back down and slip stitch, and then 2 more single crochets. Kind of pull up, and that's it. So I'm going to do that in every single chain space all the way around until I get back over here to the beginning. Okay, once you made it all the way around with your little shells and picots, what you want to do is, after you did your last single crochet in this one, just slip stitch into the first single crochet of this little shell picot thing. I don't really know what to call it, but hey, shell picot thing works for me. A tie slip stitch, and slip stitch, tie that off, put your yarn, and then you can hide these tails. I'll do that in a minute, but that's the bottom. And what I like to do now is I just go through and kind of just pull all my picots, and again that's kind of stretching these chains to get them all in the right spot, looking nice. And pulling that bottom row of chains too that we did, getting them in the right spot. And then we'll start on the sleeves. I'll go ahead and finish that later off camera, so you don't have to sit there and watch me do it the whole time. Okay, the sleeves. The sleeves are pretty easy to do. We're going to be working in the 30 skip stitches plus 1 in each of these little chain 2 spaces, and then 4 right through here. So what we're going to do, we're going to work both sleeves the exact same. So we're going to start our yarn right here in this first chain 2 space, just right through here. So go ahead and we'll start our yarn in there, and I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go back into that same space and do a double crochet. And now I'm going to be working over 4 stitches here, and I'm going to do double crochet 2 together 2 times. So because a double crochet 2 together is worked over 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to go in. You see this side stitch right here. That's going to be, I'm just going to kind of wiggle my way into the middle of it and draw up a loop. And then I'm going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook. Now the next stitch I'm going to go into is right here. You can see it pretty well. And I'm going to go into that one, yarn over, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on my hook, and then I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3. So that took those 2 stitches and made it into 1. Now the next decrease is going to go over this stitch right here, this hole, and kind of in the middle of this side double crochet that's on its side. So what I'm going to do is yarn over and go into that space, draw up a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then I'm going to yarn over again and kind of wiggle my way kind of in between this stitch a little bit, draw up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through all 3. So we took all 4 of those stitches and we made them into 2. And now we're going to put 1 double crochet into this next chain 2 space. And then I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch all the way around until I get back to my starting point. And when you get back around, you should have a total of 34 stitches. So 1 double all the way around until you get back over here to your starting point. Okay, I've made it around, and remember I started right here in this chain 2 space, so I don't need to put a double crochet there. I need to slip stitch into that first double crochet, and you should have 34 double crochets. Now I'm going to do a double crochet decrease. I'm going to chain 1 over the first 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over and go into the exact same stitch and drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. Then I'm going to yarn over and go into this next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through all 3. Now I'm going to do another double crochet decrease. I'm going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. Then I'm going to yarn over and go into this next stitch, draw up a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2, and yarn over and go through all 3. So there we did 2 double crochet decreases. So now I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch around until I get back to the beginning, all the way around the sleeve. And when I make it back around, I should have a total of 32 stitches this time when I make it back around. Okay, once you've made it around and you have 32 stitches, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into this first double crochet 2 together, not the chain 1 that we did, but the stitch. And now we're gonna chain 1, go right back into that same stitch and double crochet, and we're gonna work just 1 double crochet in every stitch around. No more decreasing now. We're all done with that. Just like this. 1 double every stitch till you get back around to the beginning, and you still should have 32 stitches when you make it back around. Okay, once you made it around and you still have 32 stitches, you want to go ahead and slip stitch into your first double crochet, and then you can tie that off. And if you want to make your sleeves longer, you can just continue going around with the 32 stitches. But now I'm going to tie that off, and I'm going to start with my white so I can put an edging on it. I'm just going to start right here in the same stitch where I left off. I'm going to chain 1. I'm I'm going to go back into that same stitch and single crochet. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. Just like this. This is the start of our sleeve edging. And when I get back to the beginning, I still should have 32 stitches. I'm going to make sure you have 32. Okay, I made it back around, got my 32 stitches. I'm going to slip stitch into my first single crochet, not that chain 1. It's the first single. Now I'm going to make the chain spaces to put my little shell picot thingies. So I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to go back into the same stitch and single crochet. And I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the next. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the next. And I'm going to do this all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the next. And when you get back around, you should have 8 of these chain 4 spaces. Okay, I've come all the way around. I have 3 stitches left to skip, so I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 4. And then I'm going to end it with a slip stitch into my first single crochet. And I have 8 chain spaces now. And now I'm going to do my little picots. So I'm going to slip stitch over to the first chain space, and I'm going to do them the same way I did along the bottom. For the first one, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put 3 single crochets, chain 3 for the picot, slip stitch, and then 2 more single crochets. So it's just like we did on the bottom. 5 stitches total with the picot in the middle one, the third stitch. Now I'm just going to skip this single crochet here like we did before, and then just jump right over into the chain space and start again. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 3, slip stitch for the picot, and then do 2 more. Just like that. And that's what I'm going to do the whole way around until I get back to the beginning. Okay, I made it back around, and I'm just going to slip stitch into my first single crochet over here. Or you don't even have to be exact, but I think that's my first one right there. Like that. And now I'm going to tie this off and hide these tails. And remember that both sleeves are made the exact same. And what I'm going to do with these is kind of pull the picots again like I did on the other one. Or I did at the bottom. Like that. Okay, sleeve's done. Now, I'm going to go around the front. The front of the dress is here where it buttons. I got so many tails going everywhere, and I apologize for that. Okay, I don't know if you noticed, but I did get a new desk. It's white. The beginning of the video was made with my old desk, and it was kind of an off-white, but I finally got a white one, so hopefully it's a little brighter, and it's bigger. I needed more workspace. Now I got tons of it. It's huge, and I'm gonna get some more lights today, so hopefully my next video will be even better for you. I hope so anyways. But what we're gonna do is start with the pink. We're going to start right here, and we're going to go all the way up, all the way around the collar, and then back down this side, and that's going to clean up all these edges. Okay, as you can see, we're going to be working on the sides of these doubles, and you can't always tell where to put the single crochet when you're working on the sides. But I always go by, I usually put two single crochets to every double crochet when I'm working up the side. So I'm going to go down here to this very first double, and I'm going to kind of wiggle in between it and start my yarn there. And I'm just going to do a chain one there. And then in the same double crochet, I'm going to wiggle in between it. And I'm going to do a single crochet. And now my next double crochet here, I'm going to do 2 single crochets through that, just the best I can. Just kind of, the best you can do really is just evenly space them out. And just try to get 2 double crochets, or 2 single crochets to every double. You know, just space them out the best that you can. That's really all you can do. And all this is doing is cleaning up these edges, making it look a lot nicer, I think. Okay, now when you get up here to the corner, I'll just keep going because I'm almost there. Go ahead and put this last single crochet here, put 2, or last double crochet, go ahead and put 2 single crochets in it. Now when you get right here to this corner spot, I'm going to put 3 single crochets in it, and that will help it round the corner and stay a little bit flatter, or lay a little flatter. And now I'm going to start working my way around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch here along the collar. Just like this. And when you get over here to this chain space here, we're just going to pretend like it doesn't even exist. So you can see that we're just going to go into this stitch, single crochet, into this next stitch and single crochet. So we didn't do anything special there. And now we're just going to continue single crocheting all the way around and all the way into the back, all the way back up here to the front. And when you get up here, you want to put 3 single crochets in this corner, and then we'll work 1 single crochet all the way down this side. So I'm going to continue going around here, and I'll meet you over here at this corner. Okay, I've made it over here to the other corner, and this is actually the top of this stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 single crochets in it. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm going to still work 2 single crochets in this double crochet. 1, 2, and I'm going to continue working 2 single crochets to every double all the way around. Just do the best that you can, or all the way down actually, until you get down here to the bottom. Okay, whenever you make it all the way down to the bottom, this is the 2 stitch overlap. So what you want to do is when you make it down to the bottom, there's 2 stitches here that are not worked. Go ahead and put 3 stitches in the first one to make it lay kind of flat. And then one into the next, and just go ahead and slip stitch into this space right here, like that. And that is the overflap, and it looks nice and clean now. So now what you want to do is just tie this off, hide that tail. Okay, let's lay it out, see what we got. Okay, this 2-stitch overflap is what you're going to sew the buttons on, and it's going to go underneath like that. And then the buttons will hook to these double crochets. Okay, now I'm going to put a little white around the edging, and I'm going to start my yarn. This 2-stitch overflap is right here underneath. I'm going to start it on the top overflap. And where we put 3 stitches up in the corner, I'm going to start it in the middle stitch. So what I'm going to do is start my yarn there and chain 1. Now I'm going to do a single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet into the next stitch, and then I'm going to do a picot on this stitch. So I'm going to chain 3, go back down and slip stitch like we were doing before for picots, like that. And now I'm going to do 3 single crochets in a row again. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do my picot on this third one. 1, 2, 3, come back down and slip stitch and picot. So it's like that. 3 singles and then a picot on a third one. This chain 1 here counted as a single crochet in the beginning. So we did 1, 2, 3 and we picoted. 1, 2, 3 picot again. Oh, my yarn's getting all tangled up. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to picot. 1, 2, 3. Like that, and then again 3 single crochets and a picot, and I'm going to do this all the way around the collar area until I get around to that 2-stitch overflap. One, 2, 3, and picot. So I'm going to continue this all the way around my collar, all the way around here, lay it out until I get over here to this flap area, and I'll meet you over here on this 2-stitch overflap. Okay, I've made it over here to the row that's my 2-stitch overflap for my buttons, and I have 3 stitches left. Count, like I want this corner, the 3 that we put in the corner, I want the middle one. I have 3 stitches left. Now if you don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. But all I'm going to do is put 1 single crochet into the last 2 and then slip stitch into the last one. I'm not going to put a picot there at the end. Now you just finish yours out however it works out. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And then clip your yarn. Okay, that's what it looks like so far. Now that's going to be my overflap, so I'm going to tuck this under, and this is going to be over like that. So that's what it kind of looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and hide all my tails. I got stung all over the place, and then I'm going to sew on some buttons. Okay, once you get your buttons sewed on, that's it. You want to make sure you sew your buttons on the inside flap. Button it here. Sew them on the inside. I sewed mine at the top, and then I skipped 3 rows, and then I sewed another one. And then I skipped 3 rows and then sewed one at the bottom. And then this will come over and you can button to these double crochets right here. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Check me out on Facebook and Instagram. You can post all your crochet projects that you make on my Facebook page, because I'd really like to see them. I'll go ahead and put a link to all that stuff below in the description box. And until next time, you guys have a good day.